It is important to have the dream wedding you are always wanted, but you should note that there is always a life after the wedding ceremony. And this is why you want to be careful not to exhaust all of your resources so that after your wedding you can have something to fall onto. Remember, so many persons will promise you cash gift, but you do not know or have the idea if you are definitely going to meet those promises. And this is why you need a budget wedding. You need a wedding for your budget, and I am here to teach you how to go about it. And this is a disclaimer: all of my opinions on these videos are based on personal opinions and what has worked for me, right? I just had my wedding in September 2024, and this is just based on my own personal experiences and keys that has helped me so far. I am so excited to be on this journey with you guys, and these are all the steps that had helped me during my wedding preparations. And I thought to myself it would be important for me to share with those who might be in need of them. You want to get ideas, all the basic ideas you want or you might need, so that you do not flop. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Mercylina and this is Lifestyle Report. If you're new, you're most definitely welcome, and if you're a returning subscriber, hey yo, you guys are the real MVP. So without further ado, I would like to get right into the video. So the first thing you want to consider before starting your wedding preparation is to have a wedding budget. Yes, the first thing you should do is to have an overall sketch of how your budget would look like, and you would want to consider doing this with your spouse. Also putting into considerations things that you might be looking out to. And remember, this budget is to help you to curtail your spendings and to live according to your budget. I'm sure before getting married, you already have like a budget in mind, the amount of money you plan on spending on your wedding day. And this is why you should check your income. Oh, are we going to be renting a new apartment after we get married? There are things that you should consider before while planning your budget. Sorry, there are things you should look out for and things you should think about, not just about the wedding plans but the life after the wedding. And these are some major core things you should want to consider. Number one, are we getting a place to stay after this wedding? Are we relocating? Are we getting the accommodations furnished? There are some things that you want to consider while drafting out your budget. And remember, your budget needs to be precise, and also your budget has to be according to your income. Now, the second thing you want to consider is doing a market survey. Yes, I'm sure that it might not be convenient for so many persons to want to do a market survey. When I'm talking about a market survey, I'm not just talking about the physical market, going into the market to check out for prices, but this can also come in when you are thinking of getting souvenirs and all of that. One thing about getting some of these things on the internet or on Instagram, sorry, is that you get them at a very ridiculous price. So no matter how much they are picturing it to be, you can always get it less in a market. But the market survey I'm talking about is knowing the prices it will cost you to get some things done. That is knowing how much some vendors charge, how much your hall would be, and you want to consider some of these things to help you get finalized on your budget. Remember that while you are making your budget, there are some certain questions that you people should ask yourself. Okay, are we having a big wedding? Are we going to be having an outdoor wedding? Are we going to be having a luxurious wedding? There are people that plan on things they want to splash money on. There are some that will say, oh, my decoration has to be top notch, my dress has to be top notch, my bouquet has to be fresh flowers. So it's okay for you to have all of those dreams, but it is very important for you to want to talk about those things and know how you can arrive on your budget. Another thing on my list that helped me personally was DIY. I actually did some of the things myself, and um for example, one of the things I did for myself was I was the one who personally designed my wedding ivy using Canva. There are so many apps you could use to do all of these things yourself, and also some appreciation cards that were used on that day. I actually designed it myself, and some little designs that I knew that I could handle by myself, I did it myself. So you want to consider some of those things and what you can do by yourself. There are people that are good in making their bouquet. You can also go on YouTube to search for whatever you feel like you can do by yourself. I've seen so many persons, so many brides doing their hand fan themselves. Yeah, doing their hand farm by themselves. There are some that can DIY their bouquet and like that. Those things that you feel like you can do by yourself, why not? If you're in a better place to bake your cake, for example, me, I am a baker, but I didn't see myself mentally fit to handle that, and that's okay. I had someone else to do it for me, and that was totally fine. But if you feel like mental you're in a mental space that would warrant you to do some certain things by yourself, you want to go ahead and DIY them, and this would help you save maybe not a lot of money, but this amount of money is definitely going to count. Now, the first things you want to consider is go for quality and not quantity. For example, you are looking out for a vendor, you shouldn't consider, oh, this person is you shouldn't go for the brand, go for the service. Yes, go for the quality and not the quantity, because you might be looking out for a celebrity MC, but that celebrity MC is going to charge you based on his own brand. Yes, you are paying for his brand and then his service. You want to pay for two things, you are paying for two things instead of you paying for one. So there are actually good people out there who have services to render to you at an affordable rate. Yes, they might not have the visibility that you might desire, but their capability is second to none, right? For example, you have somebody who is very good at decorations and you can vouch for this person. You don't have to go for a celebrity decorator just to prove a point to somebody. And this is another way for you to have a budget wedding, going for the service and not the brand. Quality over quantity. I don't know if that makes sense. When you are sorting out for vendors, you shouldn't be looking out for how many following does this person have? Does this person have up to 12K? And these are ways that most most of these vendors, no shade, no shade, but most of these vendors, you see them with so many followers, they will end up disappointing you, because at the end of the day, they will not prioritize your event. They have like so many events on that particular day. You might be getting married, and you see them doing like a rough work for you just to meet up with others. Remember, they have the following, and of course, people are definitely going to be sorting after them. So you want to be careful when making that choice. I feel like this next point is really delicate, and no offense, so many persons who have agreed to get married are forgetting the intentions of their wedding. Most of them came into the relationship with, oh, my wedding has to be like so person, my wedding has to be this, my wedding has to be that, but forgetting that wedding is just a ceremony. What really matters is the marriage, right? You want to avoid trends. During your wedding, remember, you are not there to impress everybody. You are just there to make them feel comfortable. Whatever you can afford. So you have to avoid trends. If you can afford the trends, it's okay. But if you cannot afford trends, whatever is trending, trends are expensive. So if everybody is using fresh flowers, and you go on to say, I must use a fresh flower for my wedding as a bouquet, without thinking or putting things into consideration, if you are actually capable of affording those fresh flowers, you just go ahead to say, oh, I must have fresh flowers, I must wear a Cinderella gown and all of that. Girl, you are going to be in debt. So you want to try as much as possible to avoid trends. It is good for you to, you can have, trust me, you can have a quality wedding without you having to do trends. I personally, I do not like what is trending. I can only do what my ability can take me, or what I can afford. If something is trending and I cannot afford it, I would have to make my own trend, like my own style to trend. So that is just it. You do not have to go over the borders to go with the trends or try to make a point. And that is why you have to be a very contented person. Because if you are somebody that is so extravagant, ah, you end up spending so much. So the next thing I want to talk about is, you want to negotiate, right? Negotiation is very important if you are aiming at having a budget wedding. Everybody can be priced down. Yes, that is why you had a budget, and this is why you are working strictly by your budget, right? At the end of the video, I would also tell you um some certain things about budgets, right? But you want to negotiate, have an open mind to negotiate, and look out for other vendors, right? You shouldn't just go for a particular vendor and feel like, oh, that is your final bus stop. That is why you did a market survey. You should have 2 or 3 persons that is good or match your style, and bid down their price. So whoever price is best suitable for you, that should be the person you are going for, right? So you want to negotiate. Negotiate. Cut, 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 cut. You need to cut that down, okay? You need to cut it down. Patronize those you know. Yeah, patronize those you know. Like, one thing I am so grateful for is community, right? Community has helped me, and I did not really know the advantage of having a community until during my wedding. My cake was made by somebody I knew. Um, the food was made by somebody I know. My dress was made by my sister. So like, I had I had one of the best budget wedding I've ever heard of. Yeah, that's on period. I don't care about what you had, but I'm talking from my own point of view. Yeah, your own wedding should be the best for you. No comparison. Your wedding is the best. So you want to patronize your friends as long as they can render you quality service. I'm not saying you should patronize somebody because they're your friend without considering what they can offer, right? You want to go for the best. It's your day. You are not going to have it anymore. That day cannot come back again unless you are doing a renewal of vow, and that will be like after 10 years, but it can still not be like that day. So yeah, you are not patronizing this person because, oh, you're my friend, I know that you're going to do it cheap for me, or you're going to give me a discount. Go for a friend that has the ability to render that service, a friend that has the ability to deliver, right? So yeah, I had friends who could do a lot of things with their hands, and I make cake myself. So yeah, I had relationship with people that are into events, and they were good. They showed up for me. If you cannot afford a planner, delegate. delegate that role to somebody that can help you, because this is another way for you to cut down on your spendings, right? I personally, mm, a friend of ours was our planner, right? And shout out to you, Sammy.
Does that did the right thing. After rain beat me last year when I need to go to Pitobi. No problem.
Sorry, no verse.
I want the verse.
Hey guys, meet my planner. Tickles and
Mama
smiles.
stickles and smiles.
Among
She
tried. She did her best, and
So
I
instead
am
of
happy.
food,
She did a very good job, right? We worked together, there was accountability and all of that. And this is it. If you are going for a budget wedding, you want accountability. Accountability should be very pivotal to you, because you want to be able to account for every penny that leaves your pocket. Look for that friend who is detail oriented, that friend who is willing to help you, and just delegate. Eh? You must getting a planner is very expensive. You would not know until you start sorting for planners, right? So if you're on a budget, that money for that planner, you can use it to achieve something else. Delegate. Have somebody who is your friend to help you with the planning of your wedding. Do not be too stiff or too rigid to delegate roles to people, right? As long as they are capable and they are available, why not? Do not overstress yourself because you want to have a wedding. However, there are things you should consider while making a wedding budget, right? You should know that prices are subject to change. Let's say, for example, um, there's this particular vendor I had contacted before. I got engaged December 16th, 2023, and that instant I started sorting out for vendors, right? And I had a meeting with my husband, and I had asked him what was his budget. This is another thing you have to also consider. Is your husband going to be handling the financial responsibilities alone? Are you both going to be handling it together? So there are things you should consider while making a budget. We had a meeting after after the proposal, and I told him things I could handle within my power, of course, and he told me things he could handle, and he told me his budget. I looked into it. We drew a conclusion, and yeah, I started sorting out for vendors, and I had already concluded with a particular vendor. When it was time to pay in May, she was like, "Oh, our rate card has changed," but because of me, since we had a conversation prior to that time, she's going to still stick with the whole old price. So this is why you want to know that prices are subject to change, and you want to be fast with whatever plans you have. While making a budget, you also need to consider that you need to over budget for some things, some certain things. Let's say, for example, your budget for decoration is 800,000 or 1 million. You should be budgeting around 1.2 million just in case the price change. So that is what I'm trying to say. It is better for you to be excess than for you to under budget for a thing, because when you are making plans for it, girl, you will cry. Also want to consider sticking to the scale of preference. Hey, guys, the scale of preference has been underlooked. Trust me, when you are looking out for a budget wedding, you should employ the scale of preference. The scale of preference should be your friend. Go for things according to their importance. If not, you will wreck. I'm telling you, if the most important thing is hall at that time, because it is not possible for you to have all the money you might need for your wedding. Maybe I've been near, but from is a place of team budget. It is God that provides. So you want to go for things according to their importance. Hall, hall, hall is one of the major things. If you are using venue, let me just say venue because not everybody wants to have an indoor wedding, right? Venue. Mind you, some venue wants you to book like 6 months before your wedding. So if you have a particular venue in mind and you are booking like 2 months to your wedding, there will be no venue for you. You might end up going for something you might not really like. And this is why it's important for you to prioritize things. Your wedding gown should be your least problem at that time. What you should be looking out for is like hall, decorations, you get all of these things. Miscellaneous can just be towards when your wedding is close and you want to look out for accommodation. Accommodation too can be something you can look out for later, but scale of preference so that you don't go splashing money on things that do not really matter at that time. In conclusion, if you want to have a budget wedding, it is very important for you to note that you should not be rigid. Yes, being rigid would cost you a lot, and there are things you cannot have during your wedding. There are things you have to let go because they are not important. And that is why I advised earlier that you should stick to the scale of preference, right? So you should not be too rigid and also have an understanding with your husband or your spouse, your wife, your husband, whatever it is. You guys should be a power couple at that particular time because trust me, you wouldn't want to go about having issues with your spouse, right? Over flimsy things. Yeah. Come to the end of today's video. If you want to subscribe if you have not, and leave a comment if you're not. Comment. I would like to know what has been your plan so far if you are getting married, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.